Yo, you know what time it is. It's your boy Trevor David Jones back up at it. And today we have The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 3, The Convert. Y'all know this show is OP. Y'all know this show is OP. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's jump right in with the positives. So, the show opens up with Din Djarin and Bo-Katan leaving the living waters of Mandalore. Din accomplished his mission. He dove in there. She pulled him out. He's laid out, but now he gets back up. So they go back to her planet, and they're swiftly being chased by some TIE interceptors. So they shake them off. Din gets back in the N1, which brings me to the first point of the episode. This is Din Djarin, but it's also Din Batman. It's Din Batman. When he jumped out of Bo-Katan's ship and fell, down to get in his ship and go help her, that's some superhero type stuff. Some Bruce Wayne type stuff. And that's why the show is so tight. Jon Favreau, as well as the whole crew, understand the superhero element to making, a show like this. It just makes everything dope. We got Din Batman out here. And a little bit of Dom Toretto as well. When he jumped into his ship and then goes to finally face off with one of the TIE interceptors. It was a game of chicken. It was something straight out of some Fast and the Furious type stuff we can crash right now before he finally, blows him up. Shout out Dom Toretto. Shout out Vin Diesel. Shout out Fast and the Furious. So yes. And Bo-Katan, she threw in her superhero heroics as well. When the ship was coming after her, she hits the turn and switches the wing, and then man, it was just tight. That whole opening scene was tight. They know what they're doing with this. The elements, the action, the kinetic motion, the superhero elements, that's why this show is so good. So they defeat the enemies. But whenever they thought everything was clear, what do you see but some TIE bombers? Some TIE bombers go and blow up Bo-Katan's home, where she was chilling with her feet kicked up on the couch. The TIE bomber. When I got this model, I didn't know that this was going to appear in this season. But I guess there would be a reason. The TIE bomber's an OG ship. Just for it to be, back on the shelves, it makes sense that it would be in The Mandalorian, and it is. I didn't plan on that, though. So, shout out TIE bomber. I got the Lego review on that, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, yeah, they just blow her home up straight up. So, Bo-Katan goes to chase him down, but, doesn't work out because they have mad reinforcements. And Din Djarin's like, we got to get out of here. And he's correct. So, they go into the atmosphere. And that's when I realized, and I'm saying this on wax, on digital media, The Mandalorian is better than the movies. This show is it's better than the movies. And not only that, not to be disrespectful, I've seen all the movies. I know, the Star Wars mythos, the lore. It's what the movies wish they could be. I know that sounds kind of intense, like a little bit of indictment, but it's when they hit the hyperspace jump out of the atmosphere and dipped out, I was like, man, this is like what the movies are aiming for. There are some good films. That's a whole other discussion, but man, this show is on fleek, man. It really is. So he mentions that he has a place that he can take them to. But before we get there, we get to the main crux of the episode, to the episode itself, some might say, Coruscant, and the events that happened thereafter. Yeah, this is a crazy episode, man. It really is. It really is. Let's jump right in. So the show gets a big shout out for throwing in Coruscant, which is the Jedi homeworld. We've seen it in all the prequels. We know about Coruscant. So it's good to just get that nostalgia wave and see that. But as they get into the episode, it starts showing the everyday life of people, which I really liked a lot. Because during the normal course of Star Wars, of the shows, of the movies, we see things from the Jedi perspective. The Jedi are the most powerful beings in their universe, in their galaxy. So, we see it from their perspective. But they're the 1% of the 1% of the... they're way out there. You know what I'm saying? So to the point where we think that that's all that their galaxy is. Now there's literally everyday people who have never seen a Jedi. They're literally a myth. You know what I mean? Maybe for an everyday person, it'd be a Zen, a Buddhist monk, a fighting monk. You know about them. You never met them. But the distance is even greater than that. Jedi are just somewhere way out there. So it's focusing on the everyday people as you start getting into it. I liked just that aspect. I was like, man, this is there's life outside of the Jedi, the Jedi establishment. But as we get into the episode, not only is it, somewhat about everyday people, it's about some people that we met before. It's the scientist back from, I think, in season 1, definitely season 2. And as we find out, another person, a female who was on Moff Gideon's ship. So this is where the episode becomes what it is. And it is a great episode. So the scientist, he's redeemed, or been brought over to the New Republic from the Empire, giving this speech, about his work. He goes up to meet with some of the fellow, not refugees, but like converts, to the New Republic, and meets the chick from Moff Gideon's ship. Yeah, man. It starts going kind of downhill kind of quick. And this is the thing. This is a common cinema trope. If you know about cinema, then you know, like, whenever you see a character drinking alcohol on screen or something like that happens, it signifies them as a villain. So when I first saw the episode, when he pulled up on them and the guy was like, "Oh, do you want to have a drink?" I knew things were headed downhill. That's a cinema component. So I was like, "Oh, like this is the sign that things are starting to turn," and they did. Well, the guy he links up with the crew. The chick gets him in, gets him the yellow biscuits, and starts leading him back down the path to darkness. If you're watching the episode, it's kind of vague what's happening. In a good way. It's like, where's this going to lead? But it's also clear, and that's a good job to the writing. Shout out to the whole team, showing that he made a turn. He went from delivering a speech in front of the whole New Republic, like that's the top, to drinking with the homies, and now she's like, hey, like, what about that research? We knew things were taking a dark turn, but they still managed to throw in a major twist at the end. So some other cool elements within the story. When they start becoming friends, him and the female from Moff Gideon's ship, she takes him out, just enjoying the sights of Coruscant, and they see this mountain, Umate. But by mountain, I mean like the top 10 feet of it, like the peak of the peak. It's just like poking out of the circle in the Coruscant, cityscape. And I paused the episode on that because I thought that was just completely insane. Like wild. As she mentioned, it's the top peak of the highest peak of Coruscant, on the whole planet. Just this little like rock formation, maybe 10 feet tall or so, that you can just see. They said it's the only part of the actual planet that you can see. That's a whole nother crazy element. That's a whole different conversation. But I just looked and I imagined like, yo, what if you legit saw Mount Everest? Like Mount Everest, K2, is Mount Everest K2? I'll look it up. But the planet had been formed to such an extent that you could just see the top tip of like Mount Everest, just a few feet of it sticking out of the concrete, out of the ground. That blew me away. Like that put a sense of scale on what had really happened. It was just like, man, whoever came up with that, like that hit me. Like I felt the kind of thing we're dealing with a planet like Coruscant, where it's been turned completely into a city. Just the top of this mountain, the top of the top of the top is just barely sticking out. I'm like, yeah, I really liked that scene a lot. That was awesome. So the plot progresses and she gets him to, go back to his cloning research. He shouldn't be cloning. It's a crime for the New Republic. We know this from episode 2. It's cloning. He shouldn't be allowed to like write his name twice, or like he shouldn't even be like letting near a copy machine. If it involves making multiples of something, he can't be involved in that. Like he can't. You need to stay away from any replication of anything. So, and also cloning is just literally illegal, just in and of itself. So yeah, man, she gets him to believe that it's going to help the New Republic by getting back into his old research. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Doesn't help him either. So in fact, she starts turning my man into a criminal. He went from a scientist, a good man, you know what I'm saying? He had the little button up on, cataloging the slides, to a criminal, jumping between trains and stuff. So they finally get to the shipyard where he can get the gear that he needs, that she told him he needs, to do his research. And when they pulled up and got to a Star Destroyer, that was another one of the best moments of the episode. That's one of the things that Mandalorian does best, is scale. And they know that they're doing it on purpose because it's happened in multiple episodes from season 1. The large creatures, the big ships, Gorian shards, so on and so forth. Scale is a big aspect of the show. And they showed it here again. I'm not sure, we might have seen a Star Destroyer on the ground before this, in another property, but I'm not quite sure. But for sure, in this episode, we saw a Star Destroyer on the land, on ground, and it's just a crazy sight. It gave it gave a great sense of the scale of the ship. It's a design we're all familiar with. It was a really awesome part of the episode. And right along with that, shout out to the set designers of the episode, of Mandalorian in general. Just when they got in the ship, going through the hallways and stuff, these sets are built, they're made, practical effects. It was awesome. Just a great part of the episode. Again, spoiler alert, none of this went how he planned or how he would want it to go. As they're escaping, he did get his gear. He got the mobile lab station. He got the things he would need to clone. But as soon as they get out, the authorities are right there waiting for him. So, voila, she set him up. And I gotta admit, man, upon seeing the episode, even up until that very moment, I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't know that that's exactly what was gonna happen. So that was a good twist. But she did. She set him up. And my man's went from a good man, a scientist, delivering speeches to the New Republic, to legit getting arrested, to getting brought in. So it was an awesome twist. It was, again, up to that exact moment, I didn't even see it coming. But it was, another great, but very also harrowing, sad part of the episode. Because I was like, he was doing so good. He was back on the road to redemption. And now my man's in jail. So yeah, not good. But she brought him in. So they get him in there. He's hooked up to a proto mind flayer, which they had alluded to earlier in the episode as something that Moff Gideon had got potentially hooked up to. A mind flayer. Obviously not a good thing. So he's laying there. The guy's like, no, this is the Republic, man. We don't do that around here. This is actually going to heal you. And during the midst of this, they couldn't hold themselves back, which is another high point of the episode. The scientist is like, she set me up. It was a trap. And the scientist who was doing the procedure on our scientist was like the same species that General Akbar was. So, man, it's little moments of that, little moments of levity, which just take these properties to the next level. And I really appreciated that. Well, as far as why she set him up, I would have to go back to season 2. I had to go look because it wasn't exactly clear, the reasoning why. You obviously had to know the history of the show. So I'm guessing, obviously he's a genius. He's like a cloning expert, but not like your homeboy down the street whose homeboy is at her making clones, but not even just like an average scientist. He's a legit genius, head up there, geneticist for the Empire. So he's legit. Obviously, whatever is in his mind is too valuable to let go to the New Republic. That was one of my theories. Or maybe she just has a personal grudge against him because they mentioned they were both on Moff Gideon's ship. Either way, the precise reason why she set him up, I'm sure they're going to reveal it as the series goes on. But also, I would guess if you would go back and watch season 1 or season 2, you could glean what her motivation was. But she did. She set him up. She got him arrested, hooked up to the mind flayer, brought him down from his high position that he was very much on his way to being locked up, to having his mind, flayed. Not good. So it definitely added a whole another element to the series. And this might be the first episode of The Mandalorian that they took a sizable part of an episode, probably about 90% of the runtime, and dedicated it to a character that wasn't Din Djarin, Grogu, or a Mandalorian themselves. So, and it was successful. It wasn't whack. Didn't feel like a waste of time at all. It was enthralling. It was really good. So the episode, his story wrapped up there, him getting flayed and her eating a biscuit, pure Psycho style watching him. And we're going to have to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's how I know they did a good job. So now at this point, they cut back to the Mandalorians, and the place that Din Djarin took Bo-Katan to, the safe place, was his cohort, like his homeboys on the planet where they're in exile. They don't even have a ship out there. I think Din is like the only dude with a ship. So he brings Bo-Katan back to the old ways. They were trying to give him some static at first, but he quickly proved that he did go to the living waters. The armorer had a living waters tester just, in her armory. That's cool. So they were able to verify that he'd been there. And just by virtue of jumping in and saving Din in the living waters, Bo-Katan got redeemed too. The armorer was like, yo, did you dip in the water? She was like, yeah, I saved him. She was like, have you take your helmet off since the waters? Nah, I haven't. Yo, you back in the cohort too. You're a Mandalorian once again too. Let's go. Unintentionally, maybe intentionally, maybe the funniest part of the episode. Bo-Katan got redeemed just off top, just for being there. So, yeah, I found that highly enjoyable, but also good for Bo-Katan, because there's obviously going to be a lesson and or series of lessons, you know, following from her re-bringing back into the old ways Mandalorian clan. So shout out Bo-Katan, shout out Armor for having that Living Waters tester, like literally on deck in her armory. Shout out Din Djarin, shout out Grogu. Room for improvement. In an hour episode where they took 90% of the focus off the main characters, do I have any room for improvements? I don't. None. It was spotless. Like the way it was executed, nothing drugged too long. There was just enough action. It had one of my favorite aspects in any type of show, mystery, where you don't actually know what's going to happen in the next frame or in the next scene. You literally don't know. So that was another great part of it. Yeah, man. Technical side, plot side, interactions, no room for improvement. The rating, a 7 out of 5. Yeah, this is the best episode of the season, episode 3 so far. It's better than episode 1 and 2. It was dope, man. It gets a 7 out of 5 for character progression, having some legit progression in characters that, you know, aren't fighters or like main characters. So the scientist and that other like traitor chick too. Like we got some real progression. Like not like, oh, they no, like events that shaped their mind and the way that they did certain things, you know, in the story. So that's a big shout out. And it wasn't even from the main characters. Another big shout out. And it was good. It showed like kind of an everyday aspect of, or a non-Jedi / like high level fighting characters. If nothing else crazy had happened, I probably would have gave it a 6 out of 5 just for that. For showing, you know, not only not main characters, but more rank and file characters. A genius scientist, rank and file, maybe not, but still more of like an everyday aspect. They're walking around the park and stuff, you know. It worked. So it gets, and then it has other aspects. Bo-Katan got redeemed. The armor had the Living Waters thing. Yeah, easy 7 out of 5. This was the best episode of the season so far. And that's it. You know how we do. Another episode of TDJ, Trevor David Jones in the books. Check out my previous review of The Mandalorian, season 3, episode 2. The what was that? The Mines of Mandalore. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that was a great episode. That was where Din Djarin actually got redeemed. Check out my review on that. Previous episode of My Hero Academia. This season's drawing to a close. For some reason, I felt like I had a lot more left, but this is the next to last episode in the season. A more subdued episode, but obviously it's My Hero Academia. It's worth a watch. Check it out. Look at my review on that. The TIE Bomber, the ship heard around the world. I had no clue this was going to be in a series. I just got it because it looked tight, had a great price. And check out my review on this set. It's my favorite recent set that I built. Super clean, very intricate, just a lot of fun. And it was a legit surprise when I saw it pop up in the episode. That was cool. So check out my review on that. TDJ Recommendations. Google Fi. Always gotta recommend Google Fi. Not sponsored, it's just the best cell phone service that's available. It's super good. It has True Unlimited, True International. Highly worth it. Check that out. And Dislike, a cell phone game, a mobile game. Who would have thought I'd be recommending that? But I am. It's good, great graphics, great character progression. Just a lot of fun. Just something to play, on your phone. It's good. Check out Dislike. And that is it. As I always say, because I genuinely mean it. Stay up. Never this way in life, always this way. That's facts. And until I see y'all in the next one, which will be soon, y'all know I've been out. I got y'all on these videos. We out here. Of course, Guardians 3 here in about a month. I got y'all on that. Stay up. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.